Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. He, of course, is the boss over at Americans for Tax Reform, ATR.org. It is Grover Norquist. Grover, how are you? Good to see you.
We're doing reasonably well for a crazy world.
Man, it's so crazy, but I'm so glad to have your knowledge and your friendship on the show, because what Kamala Harris is saying doesn't make a lot of sense. And what's happening in this lead up to the election, there are more questions than answers when it comes to the policies of Trump versus Harris, and I hope that we can break some of that down. Let's start with the fact that Kamala Wins is an X profile that is verified, that is a support profile for Kamala Harris. They bragged the other day, and Kamala Harris herself bragged the other day, about how proud they are to have the endorsement of the IRS union. Now, maybe I'm stupid, but I don't know anybody in America other than those who work for the IRS who like the IRS. What do you make of this union supporting her?
Well, let's see. Kamala Harris was the deciding vote that said we're going to give $80 billion to the IRS to go out and hunt down middle-class people who use Venmo and make sure that they've filled out all their forms every time money goes in and out of their account through Venmo. It might be income. It might be three of you ordering pizzas together, but the government will be in there. And that takes a lot of IRS agents. And those IRS agents can join the union. They can pay union dues, $1,000. That money then goes back to Kamala Harris and the Democrats through campaign contributions. So $80 billion to the unions. The unions would be pretty darn ungrateful if they didn't give her, $600,000 or so they've been spending on politics, on Democrats, and a good chunk of that new money coming in from all those additional bureaucrats. So
I did a video the other day where I think I used your website and your numbers. Is the number 94% of the donations from the IRS union go to Democrats? Was it 94 or 97? I forget.
97.
Yeah.
97.
I mean, come on. So, of course, she's going to be happy to get the endorsement, but are Americans awake enough to realize this could be a problem?
It is a problem. And that union is one of the most left-wing unions around. There are several in the federal government. And that all started under Jimmy Carter. There weren't unions until Jimmy Carter got union support by promising to let them raise money off of government employees, which, by the way, are all paid by our tax dollars. Those government employees don't have money that doesn't come from our tax dollars. That's what being a government employee means. So we pay for that. And you've seen that one of the challenges we've had is the IRS is not doing as good a job with all these more people they're supposedly hiring of answering the phones, getting people's problems solved. If somebody steals your identification, it can take 2 years because they're not coming to the office. They're not coming to the office. The union contract they did says we don't have to come into the office every day or necessarily any day. They were trying to get them to come in half the time, and the union laughed at them.
Grover, it's Grover Norquist. Go to ATR.org and go find out everything. All these numbers that we're talking about are right there. He breaks it down like nobody else can. When it comes to your taxes, your government that's being paid for by your taxes, he's all over it. You mentioned something that was, I think I want to opine on this for a second if we can. Let's mix this up. Why is there a government employee union at all? And you said Jimmy Carter did it because if you're paying for it and I'm paying for it, we're more conservative, and a bunch of liberals who are watching are also paying for it. That's not okay with me. Why can you organize and take the money that we're paying you, your salary, from all sides of the political spectrum and spend 97% of it on one side? I mean, Jimmy Carter literally said you can unionize even though you're getting paid by the public?
Yes, it was not legal before. He made it legal. Now, a president could decide that any one of the departments was important to national security. The IRS certainly is. And say no union here because you interfere with national security.
Right.
He should do that for the Defense Department. There's 700,000 civilian employees. They don't carry weapons. They don't defend they're the bureaucrats who oversee the rest of the Army, Navy, and so on.
Right.
But those are unionized, and we have, it's estimated, 200,000 more employees there than taxpayers should be paying for. But unions want to maximize the number of employees because that maximizes the number of dues checks that they get. They don't care that the taxpayers are paying for unnecessary levels of make-work jobs.
It's crazy. It's Grover Norquist. Great knowledge as always. Go to ATR.org, go sign up, and go read everything they do. When it comes to the deciding vote that you mentioned, the Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't, it was just a green energy bill for trillions of dollars. She literally was part of that conglomeration that said, we've got to make sure that people that are making tips are paying fully and are reporting correctly. So they hired a bunch of IRS agents, some of whom would make sure those middle-class workers that were making tips would in fact pay their fair share. Trump says no tax on tips. Suddenly a week later, Kamala Harris says no tax on tips, or actually 2 months later, she says the same thing. Can she be the deciding vote where they're going after people who make tips and also say no tax on tips? How does that work?
Because she's lying on the second one.
Yeah.
But she's not only lying. It doesn't matter what she says. The bureaucracy is doing this. They decided to bring the $80 billion more money for government employees at the IRS,
right,
in order to go after small businesses. That's what they said out loud in paper they were doing. This, we're not going after middle class people or small businesses, is just nonsense said after the fact. They have the cash. They don't care what you think anymore. They're going to go after small businesses. If you buy something with Venmo,
right,
or sell something through Venmo or PayPal or any of these Zelle, any of these others, the government's going to have every one of those documents, and they'll say, we say that's income. And you say, no, I was splitting a pizza. I was splitting the rent with prove it. We say it's income, says government.
Crazy.
You're going to spend thousands of dollars disputing several $100s worth of higher taxes?
No,
you just pay it.
You just pay it. And she was on the side that made that happen. It's Grover Norquist. Let's talk about what Goldman Sachs said about the economic plan from Trump, the economic plan from Harris. It wasn't actually Goldman Sachs. It was some outside person that was working in conjunction with Goldman Sachs. One person, one outlier said Kamala Harris's tax plan or her economic plan would be 0.2% better than Donald Trump's plan if all things were equal and if it actually went off the way that she said it would. She lied at the debate and said Goldman Sachs said that his economic plan would shrink the economy, mine would grow the economy. So how do you get around a lie like that? And again, it's like one guy, one analyst said one thing, and he's probably wrong, but it wasn't about one would grow, one would shrink. It was they would both grow. She would grow 0.2% better. How do you fix that in the minds of those watching?
Just remind people that Goldman Sachs has pulled stunts like this almost every election cycle where they come out with some left-wing projection. You do remember the guy who won the Nobel Peace Prize, who writes for the New York Times, announced on the day that Trump got elected that there'd be a recession, to no end. And of course, the stock market, before that day had finished, had gone through the roof as soon as they realized that Hillary Clinton wasn't going to be in charge. It doesn't matter what those people say. They make up those numbers. They're not serious. I wouldn't take their investment advice for anything at Goldman Sachs when they have some guy playing politics and screwing with the rest of us by saying things like that.
Right.
Okay. Trump wants to continue the Trump tax cuts. Kamala Harris wants a $5 trillion tax increase by allowing those to lapse. What does that mean? It means taking the corporate income from 21%, where it's competitive, to 35%. China's at 15 and 25. Wow. Higher than Europe, higher than China, higher than Japan, higher than any other country in the world that you can spell. Okay, none of them have a corporate income tax that high. Makes us non-competitive when we produce anything. Then she wants to get rid of the deductibility, the expensing of new investment. So if a company makes an investment to get you a better truck, to be a more effective and truck driver, or a better computer to work at your office, instead of being able to say, they're going to say that we count that as income. We're going to tax it.
Wow.
Wait a minute. I got a truck. I don't have cash. We're going to call it income. We're going to tax it. Trump said, when you spend it like that, that's not income anymore. Okay. We're not going to tax it when you put it in as an investment. We want to not discourage investment on making people more productive so they can get better wages. That's what we don't want to do. Kamala said, no, I do. Kamala Harris wants to tax your energy, the price of heating your home, air conditioning your home, gasoline for your car. Now, she doesn't even put a top on that. So that idiot from Goldman Sachs doesn't know what he's talking about. He's making a guess. Oh, it must be a really teeny tapeworm she's going to have you swallow, not one that grows, which is what taxes generally do.
Yeah, and the Goldman Sachs CEO literally came out like 2 days later, Solomon, and he said, "Yeah, no, that should not be taken as anything that's any," because he got a lot of blowback, which he probably should have. It's Grover Norquist from Americans for Tax Reform, ATR.org. Make sure you go there. Grover, are unrealized gains exactly what it sounds like? I haven't gained anything, but you're going to tax me anyway?
Yes, the value of your farm goes up, and we're going to tax you on the increase in the value, and so you're going to have to sell part of your farmland to pay this tax on money you don't have. Okay, your stocks go up, and you're just that's for your retirement. That's for your retirement. Your 401k, right. Your IRA, stocks go up. They go, okay, we need a quarter of that. We need half of that. You know, who knows what number it's going to go to at some point. Sell your stocks. Sell what you were trying to save for the future. We want a piece of it. What about when the stock market goes down? Do you give me my money back? I don't
Of course
think
not.
So.
So literally, I want to make sure I understand. Let's say I own some stocks. I own 100 stocks in widgets, and the widgets go up by a lot, but I still didn't sell the stock, didn't realize any gains. It's just still a piece of paper that says I own this. They want a piece of that before I do anything with it?
Yes. Yes.
In what world, Grover? In what bizarre, is this a socialist or communist thing? What is this?
Well, imagine everything you own, from your house to stocks to anything. It's probably gone up maybe 20% in value because of inflation during Biden.
Yes.
They want a piece of that.
Wow.
They want a piece of that 20% increase. You're rich now. You're rich now. Give us your money. Sell part of your house. Rent out your backyard. Give us the cash in your house, your land, your retirement for the future. Cash out. Give us the money. And even though it's an imaginary increase in the value of your property, that's all inflation. Thank you, Kamala Harris.
And as you said, that could, the whole property market could take a dump. Your stock can suddenly tank, and you're still on the hook for whatever it is. If you decide to sell it then at a loss, you're still going to be paying taxes on. That's going to be called income too. You'll be double taxed, triple taxed, or whatever. So Grover, you and I think we're about the same age. You might be a little bit younger. But as we're watching this, I've been watching election cycles forever, ever since I was 10. I don't remember anybody ever running to say, I'm going to raise taxes. I'm going to raise your taxes, and we're going to raise energy prices. We're going to force you to stop driving a car that's got an internal combustion engine. Elect me. I've never seen this before. This is bizarre. And she's, in some polls, leading? Come on.
In the closest to that was in 1984 when Walter Mondale at the convention says, I'm going to raise your taxes, okay?
Okay.
And he carried Minnesota as the one state. Reagan got 49 states. He got one.
Because he's from Minnesota. That's the only reason they felt bad for him. So you're right. So he said that. Everybody else runs no new taxes. I'm not going to lower your taxes. I'm not going to raise your taxes. Taxes are far too high. I've never seen somebody say, I'm going to make it worse. In fact, you've got 3.5 years of history. What about that? This is a unique time. You and I weren't around when Grover Cleveland ran twice, and he won in 2 individual, 4-year terms, and there was somebody in between. But this has never really happened before, to where Trump has an opportunity to become the president after he was no longer the president for 4 years. But Grover, we now see for almost 4 years what Harris and Biden did, and none of it's good. I can't point to anything and say, holy crap, I want more of that. So again, what's going on? Is this some sort of psychological warfare that they're doing, that people, let's tax corporations more, and Grover's making too much money, I want some of his money. Did class warfare work? Is that why the polls are so close, do you think?
Well, they're close because the establishment press had 36 days where Kamala Harris refused to do any press. But they were writing articles about how swell she was. Why would she ever do an interview when they're telling everybody she's full of joy and she's wonderful and all of this sort of thing? They didn't look at her track record. They didn't look at the votes she made, which gave us the overspending and gave us the inflation. Biden signed the bills she passed. So he has his fingerprints on the murder weapon, but she made them pass. If she had not been the vote for the 2 big spending bills, there would have been no inflation. Biden couldn't have signed anything. She could have gone, I saved America, but she didn't. She created that inflation and that overspending with her personal vote right there.
Right.
If the establishment press, the courtier press, the guys in D.C. who spend their time sucking up to the government, were actually being journalists, that woman would have sunk like a rock. Because if you remember 6 months ago, the press was all writing, for heaven's sake, we've got to get rid of Kamala Harris. She's pulling down Biden, who's bright as a whip and the smartest guy in the world and knows so much.
Sharp as a tack, yeah.
Right? And anyone who attacks him is a racist and probably a Nazi too. But
yeah.
And so as soon as they've decided that he won't float anymore, they push him out into traffic, drag out Kamala, who they'd been explaining was the embarrassment. And they said, why? Because she can't keep staff. She doesn't know anything. She has no accomplishments. She doesn't do anything as governor. They said she was in charge of the border. Now, of course, she's going, I don't know, talking about border. I didn't do it. I wasn't living there. I have no accomplishments in this administration. Quit blaming me for any of them. So, and then they turned around, and while she was hiding, I don't know if it was in a basement like Biden did before, but they completely remade her to where people were saying, oh, look at all this, how wonderful she is, with no evidence, and wouldn't let her talk. When she does talk, she says things like, I'm going to raise your taxes.
I'm going to take your guns. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and she's going to destroy the Second Amendment for starters. Yeah. I mean, they've got to keep her away from that microphone because she is so left of center on taking people's freedoms away. She doesn't even like the First Amendment. Democrats used to at least like the First Amendment sometimes. And now, no. So as long as they can keep her hidden and say what she meant, even when she misspeaks, instead of fact checking her, they always sort of massage what she said to make it, she didn't mean to, she didn't say that. Well, yes, she did,
She did. We have video of it. We have audio of it. She did say that. And you're right. They keep on fact checking and massaging, as you say. It's Grover Norquist. Go to atr.org. Maybe 30 seconds, Grover. I say this on my show every day, and please back me up or tell me I'm stupid. Everybody who pays income tax got an income tax break when Donald Trump put that plan into place in 2017. I know California, Illinois, and New York are paying higher because the government isn't subsidizing their crap anymore. But if you pay income tax in this country, you saw a break by that deal. Is that not true?
It is true, and that's been admitted by the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN. Everybody admitted it after the bill passed, not before the bill passed.
Right.
And at kamalanomics.org, we have all of Kamala Harris's tax, Kamalanomics, like Bidenomics, kamalanomics.org, all of her tax increases, and all of her on video explaining just how she's going to gouge you in the eye and take your money.
I love it. Everybody go there, kamalanomics.org. Go there. Going to be a great resource if Grover's behind it. Grover, thanks a million for making time today. Let's do it again before the election, okay?
That'd be fun.
All right, thank you, brother. We're back after this. Stay right here.